Welcome into the ride, a journey to the tourney podcast, where we bring you through the college basketball 2026 college basketball season. I'm gonna redo that because I butchered it.
All right.
Welcome into the ride, a journey to the tourney. Well, where we bring you through the 2025-26 and college. Fuck. One more try. Just make sure you got your editing skills.
Yeah.
I'm just testing you. Welcome to the ride, a journey to the tourney, where we bring you through the 25-26 college basketball season. My name is Andrew Hurley, and I'm here with Brett Bianchetti. And today we have our Big Ten rankings as well as our Ivy League rankings. We're going to bring you through our top 10 in the Big Ten, and then we're just going to rank the entire Ivy League. Looks to be about 8 teams, and then, like always, we'll leave here with a hot take. But Brett, how are you?
Doing pretty well. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm good. Having a good week. Just getting closer and closer to college basketball. I'm so excited.
Mm.
Boise State's scrimmage in Idaho in a little exhibition game tomorrow. So
Ooh.
excited to go to that.
I've been eyeing up the Idaho schedule, trying to pick out games to
hmm
check out.
Vandals should be good this year.
I know Torvik had him first. I was surprised. I know
I know. I saw that.
they're bringing back a lot of minutes, so you never know.
I'm a big Colton Mitchell guy.
I remember Gonzalez. Can't remember all of them.
hmm All right. So how we're gonna go through this episode is similar to other episodes. I'm gonna read off my 10. I'm gonna ask Brett where he had that team, and then we're gonna talk about the teams and move all the way down to the number one. And we're gonna start with the Big Ten here. So I'm getting straight into it. Brett,
Mm.
at my 10, and I really struggled with this. It was between a few teams like Indiana, Iowa, and just like Washington. It was a team that I even expected to have maybe in my top 10, but in the end, I ended up picking Indiana. I really like Tucker DeVries. We talked about him a little bit
Mm.
earlier. And the important guy I think is Lamar Wilkerson from Sam Houston. Absolute flamethrower, like should be one of the best shooters in college basketball. And Reed Bailey is another guy who I really like. He
Yeah.
transfers over from Dayton. He put up really good numbers at Dayton last year. And so that's kind of like almost the big three for them, expected to be right there. The rest of the roster looks solid. But yeah, my guy that I'm really excited for on that team is Reed Bailey. This team does lack a little bit of height. He might have to play some minutes at the five. I mean, Reed Bailey has great size, but besides that, I mean, Reed Bailey in the past played some four, played some stretch four minutes. He's a good shooter, not a ton of volume, but solid shooter. So, but yeah, he's gonna have to maybe play a little bit of the five. So it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to that. What did you think about Indiana? Did you have him ranked?
I had them at 8, actually. I
All
like
right.
Indiana quite a bit. So you definitely touched on like the big three is going to be interesting with Lamar Wilkerson, Tucker Breeze, Reed Bailey. None of them played together last year, but that's some good talent there. I mean, they're three about 20 point per game guys when they're on their mid majors, and Tucker Breeze had a really impressive year last year. Um, I mean, you also add a lot of other mid-major guys like Tate Connerway. He's pretty good last year with Troy. He averaged 14, 4, and 5. Nick Dorn from Elon shot 8 threes a game. So maybe some shooting there. I think there's a lot of shooting across the board, really. I think they have quite a few guys who can shoot pretty well. Um, Connor Enright's probably going to be a pretty solid one. Jason Drake, Josiah Miles, from North Florida. Sam Alexis, probably a backup big, I would assume, but he might start as well some games for some size. Um, from Florida. So, I mean, I think they have a really filled out roster for first year at Indiana. Um, I mean, there's just a lot of talent, but Wilkerson, DeVries, and Bailey should be a pretty good trio.
Yeah, I agree. And we are very high on DeVries, both of us. So excited to see how he continues his college career, elite scorer.
Mm.
And then moving on to my nine is where I put Wisconsin. I'm a little bit lower on Wisconsin. Where'd you have Wisconsin?
I had him at 7, so I'm a little
Yeah.
low, but pretty, higher.
Yeah. Well, and losing John Tanji is something that you can't really like you can't expect what this team is going to be able to do off that is what how I'm feeling about this. Obviously they retain John Blackwell, who was elite for them last year. Had some really, really impressive games. He had two 30-point games last year or something I saw when scrolling through here. So I mean, no doubts about John Blackwell, about how good of a player he is. And they had some solid transfer pickups. I really like Nick Boyd and Andrew Rohde. And then one of the guys that I'm expecting, and my guy is Austin Rapp. He's from Portland. He's a big, shot a lot of threes, should be able to stretch the floor. He's going to be put next to Nolan Winter,
Hmm.
who's their other big. So
Yeah.
I really like what they're going to be able to do there. But it's just a fairly deep roster. They got a lot of stuff going on that I like. Just it's the one of the better conferences in college basketball. Once again, the Big Ten is always good. So not sure if they're going to be one of the top teams like some people are expecting them to be. But what do you think about Wisconsin?
Yeah. Their thing for me, I guess, was that they're pretty inexperienced. They're just, I guess, young in general. They have some
Hmm.
experience, but like I do like the starting lineup quite a bit. And as you said, Austin Rapp, that's a fun player. 7 threes a game at Portland State at 6'10", like that's pretty
Hmm.
impressive. And he shot at 35%, so he's pretty good. They brought in as well the guys I was kind of looking at more were like Alessia Bilioskus, from
Freshman
Lithuania.
coming in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lithuanian. And then they also brought in Hayden Jones from New Zealand. So both those guys were on like their national teams or whatever. They both averaged. Hayden Jones averaged 14-7 on their U19 team, and then Bilios Kus averaged 12 and 8, and he's a pretty decent shooter. So I think that might be a bit like where their depth lies is kind of in the hands of players who aren't from college basketball, really big schools like Austin Rapp. I would assume maybe off the bench as well. So I mean, it's gonna be pretty heavy on, I'd say, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. I'm not totally sure about Nick Boyd. I know he was like one of the guys for SDSU last year, but I mean, a lot of people expect him to be like a really sound second option for the Big Ten. I'm not really sure he's gonna live up to that expectation. John Blackwell will be like a first option in my eyes, though. I think he'll be really good.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be interesting to see one of that front court is really what threw me off with
Hmm.
Wisconsin. And Nolan Winter is a big guy, so I really like what they have going on there. But he was super efficient from two range. He was good. He averaged 9 and 6 last year. So him next to Austin Rapp maybe isn't the most proven front court, but I really like what they might be able to do.
Yeah, they're also bringing back Elijah Gray, or bringing in Elijah Gray from Temple. So he's a bit of size as well. He's not one of the shooters like Rap, but he's pretty 6'9", 235 senior, so maybe that could help with the front court too.
Yeah. And then moving on to my eight, this is where I put Ohio State. Where'd you have Ohio State?
I had him at 9, so not too
Yeah,
bad.
pretty similar. I really like this roster. Bruce Thornton and John Mobley both return. They're elite shooters. I love the shooting on this team. It's probably the best part of the roster. They have Wright State transfer, Brandon Noel. He put up
Mhm.
19 last year. I really like what he did there. And then a guy, Josh Ojinuwana, I think is how we're gonna go with it. He's a big guy from Baylor. He's gonna play some front court minutes next to Christoph Tilley, another transfer from Santa Clara. I really like the experience and depth of this roster. John Mobley Jr. I think is gonna have a pretty big year. I really like what he did last year. And then obviously guys like Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal is here who I mean they retained a lot. They brought in some solid pieces. I like what Ohio State's got going.
Yeah, um, the shooting is really what the thing is for them this year. I mean, it's kind of common theme lately, but I'm not totally sold on them because they didn't really. I didn't see them having like a huge improvement, I guess, over the off season, and they struggled last year. I guess they just never really pulled off the big wins. But I mean, when you're bringing it back, your big three and Thornton, Mobley, and Royal, I do think you have a pretty decent chance of being a like better team. I feel like they lost a lot of like 50-50 games almost, so maybe they could get a bit luckier this year. They did bring in, like you said, Baylor, big, brought in a couple freshmen. They brought in Gabe Cupps, maybe he'll get played on. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I like Chris Tilley. He's definitely a pretty good ad. I like the ad in a five. And Brandon Knoll could be a cool. stretch four, I think he hit a couple threes last year. So
Yeah,
I'm
he shot about 100 threes last year.
yeah, and 35% from three. So he's pretty solid uh, wing. So I don't know. Torvik and Kempom really liked them. So, but it's like I mean they were 13th in on offense for Kempom, but 58th on defense. That's kind of how it was
Hmm.
last year as well. So I guess we'll see how it translates to real basketball.
Yep.
Um,
And then to my seven, where I have USC. Where'd you put USC?
I had USC at five.
Okay. And that's completely reasonable looking back at this. I really like this roster.
Mhm.
Terrence Williams, Rodney Rice, and Chad Baker-Mazara are the expected like big three kind of. But I really like what they did past that. I mean, Rodney Rice and Chad Baker-Mazara were really good transfer pickups. I think they're both solid offensive and defensive players. Obviously, CBM is a really solid defensive player. I'm not. I mean, I'm not sure who the real guy is on this team, which is fine. I don't think that's a real issue. You could argue it's going to be Terrence Williams coming back. He scored decently before the injury last year, or you could argue it's going to be Rodney Rice. But I kind of like that they don't have a real guy. They brought in Elijah Arenas, who is a pretty top freshman. I like what he's gonna be able to do. And then my guy for them is Jacob Kofi from
Yeah.
Virginia. Brought him in. He was a great defender for Virginia last year. Was kind of up and down. He was splitting time between it was him and Blake Buchanan, splitting time in that front court and the center spot. I think if he gets a solidified role in the front court, he's going to be a beast on defense. I really like what he does as a rim protector. And then just another guy I wanted to note was Jordan Marsh from UNC Asheville.
Hmm.
He was a 20 point per game scorer last year. He'll be a piece in the backcourt. So it's a well-rounded team. I think even if one of those players in those top three steps up as a true like beast of a scorer, I think they're going to even be better than the roster appears to be.
Yeah. This is probably like maybe other than Illinois, the hardest roster for me to try to like piece out. So like you said, I Jordan Marsh was a 20 point per game guy from mid-major, and he's also pretty good mid-major in UNC Asheville. So
Hmm.
I had him starting as their point because I know Rodney Rice is supposed to be like that's I guess what he wanted to be was their point. I'm not really sure
I don't
that's gonna
think he's
happen.
played. I don't think he's played a lot of point guard and
He hasn't, but that
at
was
at
like
Maryland's.
that's what I heard was what he went to be there for. But I
Hmm.
mean, I don't really see him as that. I think it'd be cool if he was just a scorer and really I'd prefer Jordan Marsh to be a point for his team. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could assort the team. Like Jacob Kofi, he might start. I'd kind of assume he would start for defense, but at the same time, like, is going into his sophomore, I believe. And you got Jaden Brownell, who's a senior last year, who I really like. He's a 39 point or not 39% shooter. F four threes a game from Samford. That might be a bit of mid-major bias as well. So I don't know, but I
Hmm.
mean he'd have some spacing next to Asar, and then CMB. I mean, there's a lot of shooting. There's quite a few decent shooters all over. Cornish as well from Dartmouth. He can shoot, like you said. Terrence Williams, he can shoot, and he's pretty big. So I mean, there's a lot of shooting. I think there's like you said, there's not really a main guy, but there's a bunch of players I think could like score at pretty low volume efficiently. So I kind of like the offensive outlook for this team with all the size and good defenders as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Musselman, what he's got going over there. And then to my six is where I put Michigan State. Where did you put them?
I had him at 10.
At 10.
That's
All right. All right. Yeah, right.
hmm,
They returned like what perceived to be their big three this year, which is going to be Jackson Kohler, Jeremy Fears, and Cohen Carr. Those are all returners coming back. Uh, Cam Ward is an awesome freshman. I think he's going to contribute right away. I don't love the transfer talent necessarily. Trey Fort from Stanford was solid. He put up 14 last year. Divine Ubachukwu, he wasn't a great shooter, but he shot well from inside the arc, and I think they're gonna have a similar play style to last year. I like what they did, where they just out hustled everybody. Were really good on the boards, despite sometimes being outsized. I think they'll see that again this year. I like Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper's size, but they're gonna have to hustle like they did last year, create turnovers, and be good in transition like they were last year. I think Jeremy Fears Jr. is gonna be awesome in transition. We know Cohen Carr is awesome in transition, so I think that's where Tom Izzo is gonna make most of his money this year is getting out and running the floor with these guys. But what did you think about Michigan State?
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty similar style, like you said last year. I mean, there's not gonna really be like a guy for this team. I know Cohen Carr is somebody people like a lot to be maybe the first option. I don't really see how that's possible without him changing a lot from last year. But like how I see is Jackson Kohler. I think he's their guy offensively. I really liked him last year, and I think that he makes the most sense to be the first option. I know Jeremy Fears is a guy you like. I don't really see him as like a scorer. I'd prefer him to be that like pure distributor. I think he's really good at that. But I mean, if he got the numbers up, he'd be great as well as a scorer. Overall, it's just like looking at the roster and the talent and how much they lost last year, like Fiddler, Zapala, Jace, Akins. They lost a lot. And they're bringing a lot of like inexperienced guys, I guess, like Cam Ward, 4-star. He's great, but Jordan Scott, another 4-star wing. Vine Ugochukwu didn't really play a whole lot. There's a lot of guards at Miami last year. And it's just not, I'm not really hopeful for this team. I know Izzo gets it done a lot. They'll play defense. They'll get up and down the court. They'll control the pace, but I'm not really sure like what the ceiling could be with this team with the talent they have. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. It'll be interesting, like come tournament time, what the ceiling is. Not sure they can hang with some of those top offenses, but moving on to the five is where I put Oregon. So I am pretty high on Oregon, but where'd you have them?
I had him at 6, so not too far off.
Okay. Yeah, sweet. We talked earlier about Shellstad. He's going to be hurt for the beginning of the season. That hurts the team, but when he comes back, him and Biddle are one of the best offensive and defensive duos in the country. I mean, I love what they do on both sides of the ball. Biddle's a great rim protector. This team's looking for people to step up around those two, though, is the big thing. So Kwame Evans is a returner. He's another solid defender. Showed some flashes of being another elite rim protector. They have some fun transfers. I like Miles Goodwin from Penn State. I think he's fun. They have freshman JJ Frakes coming in, who's going to have to put up minutes. Devin Pryor from Texas is another guy they brought in. He didn't get a ton of run, but just will be another wing guy who could hopefully produce around them. Jamari Phillips is here, and they have Sean Stewart from Ohio State, another guy who didn't get a ton of run, but will hopefully have a role in this team. So this is more for me about the Shellstad and Biddle, how they're going to be. I think they're both going to be all Big Ten players. So I like what those two are going to be able to lead this team to.
Yeah. It's really about Shellstad and Bill for me. I think that's like
Hmm.
pretty consensus there what everybody's basing them off. It's kind of hard to know a lot about the rest of the team. I know Wei Lin is a guy I've seen maybe a little talk
Yeah,
about.
well, he's going to be the he's going to probably take that role as the point guard while Shellstad's out, and he's fun. He was really good over in China, so I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, he averaged 20, 21, 3, and 5 on the Monkey Kings. Um, in Ch-
Roll
Summer
Monkey
Asia.
Kings, dude. Roll Monkey Kings.
Yeah, I know Monkey Kings, man. You gotta love it. Then TK Simpkins is also gonna be probably one of their like secondary scorers outside of Shellstad and Biddle. I like him. He's a pretty good shooter as well. So like, he's not gonna take away from Shellstad or Biddle's duo, I guess. I generally kind of worried about the depth, but I
Hmm.
mean, last year I didn't really like anything a whole lot off the bench anyway. So I don't think it's like something that's gonna hold them back. They were still a good team last year. Also, Efe Vatan from Turkey is another bench guy. 16 and 6 from
I'm not
Turkey.
familiar with his game.
He's coming in year one, I guess. As I don't know. I think Devon Pryor might start too. I don't know how
Hmm.
realistic is. I mean, they don't really have a whole lot of wings, but I think he's a pretty solid starter. Kwame Evans is a guy like last year, so I think it's like a decent lineup. It's just really elevated by Shellstad and Biddle.
And then we're gonna get into the top four. So my four is where I put Illinois. Where'd you put Illinois?
Same at four.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing some of these similar teams in this top four. I love Colin Boswell. He's one of my favorites. I've talked about him in other episodes. I think he's gonna step up as the guy on this team. But they also have a lot of transfers, a lot of overseas guys. So you kind of noted earlier, this is a really tough roster to kind of
Mm-hmm.
dissect and look at. I think Andrei Stojakovic was obviously a big transfer pickup from Cal. He's going to start, and then the Ivisic brothers. Tomislav is the big returner. He was really really solid last year. Averaged 13 and 8. Really efficient from inside the arc. I like what he did. And then anybody else that steps up, like any of these overseas guys, is just going to be like bonus added on. They returned a few guys. Ty Rogers had a role last year. They have a few freshmen, like Brandon Lee is coming in. He's a decent freshman, and then yeah, like I said, some of these overseas guys. So, but I think Colin Boswell is going to kind of take a leadership role, and this Illinois team will definitely be good.
Yeah, this is a interesting mix of like continuity while bringing in like a ton of guys. Like they brought back
Hmm.
Boswell, they brought back Hammerkaus, they brought back Ivisic, they brought back Ty Rogers, Jake Davis. Like I think there's some quality like side pieces like off the bench and stuff. I think Hammerkaus will maybe start. I had him
I think you
starting.
should. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously Boswell is gonna be one of those top guys. Ivisic will start, or Tomislav Ivisic will start. I
Hmm.
had uh Vomir, Vonimir, Ivisic.
Zvonimir.
Yeah, I had him off the bench,
Yeah.
but he could probably start games against bigger lineups. I'm sure it's pretty fluid. They have a lot of talent. Um,
Well, and Zvonimir was able to stretch the floor a little bit, so that helps him out.
yeah, both of them are actually pretty solid
Yeah.
shooters for their size. So,
Yeah.
um, it'll be interesting to see. I know the big guys, I guess they're bringing overseas are Petrovic and Mirkovic.
Mirkovic, yeah.
Yeah, both from the ABA. Mirkovic averaged 8 and 6, but he's pretty big. And then Petrovic averaged 7 assists, 14 points. So, I've seen some pretty like crazy high assist number of games as well from him. So I'd expect him to be that point with Boswell kind of being more of like what he's best as like combo guard.
Hmm.
But I like Boswell and Stojakovic as a leading group. I think it'll be a pretty fun team.
They'll
Um,
definitely be able to shoot as well.
yeah,
Illinois
the
will be able to
shooting
shoot
will
the
be
ball. So,
nice. I just yeah, I think it's a pretty solid team.
uh, they're pretty high ranked in the Ken Palm rankings. They're sixth in the
Yeah,
country. Torvik has them pretty high as well. So,
yeah, it's
big
interesting.
expectations going into the year for
Hmm.
Illinois. But then we go to my three, where I've got
Yeah,
UCLA.
same.
Yep. We are huge on Donovan Dent.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it even more because how much we love him. One of the best scorers in college basketball last year at New Mexico. Good efficiency on high volume. He's showed flashes as a playmaker too. Averaged about 6 assists a game. Didn't love the turnovers that he had. Had a bit of a turnover thing, but when you got a guy running that much out in transition with and without the ball, it's bound to happen. So if he can cut down on turnovers, that'll be nice. But Donovan Dent's going to be great for this team. Are really big on Tyler Bilodeau. I like Sky Clark, so there's a couple of guys that will come back as returners. Besides that, they had a couple of transfers. I mean, Xavier Booker's definitely like a player. He definitely plays
Hmm.
basketball.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
say that. Yeah, like Eric Daly is a returner who, I mean, just will play a role similar to like what he did last year. He was solid last year, but I think this is really going to be about Donovan Dent, Tyler Bilodeau, and Sky Clark. I think Sky Clark's going to even show a bit of a leap from last year. He was a really good shooter last year. I like what he did a lot. So I think he's going to take a jump up from his 8.5 points last year. But what do you like about this UCLA team?
yeah. Dent's obviously the guy. I mean, that's kind of like what everybody loves about this team. But also, I kind of like last year. I know shooting was kind of a struggle, and it's definitely a low volume. But I mean, like Sky Clark, he can shoot it like you said pretty well. Eric Daly can shoot it pretty well. Not like a lot of shots, but Bilodeau. I mean, all three of them shot around 40% on 3 attempts a game. So it adds up. Donovan Dent's a 40% shooter on two threes. So, I mean, it's not going to be like something they can rely on, but I think it's better than last year, honestly. And you brought in Jamar Brown as well, who's a 40% shooter, six threes a game. They're kind of inexperienced off the bench. I count one, two, three, four, or I guess three first year guys, and then Xavier Booker, just kind of like plays inexperienced ball. But
He's definitely a player. Yeah.
yeah, but Trent Perry, Brandon Williams, and Anthony Peoples were all freshmen last year. They all got play time, so I guess they'll be off the bench. It's kind of like their downfall. The starting lineup is probably gonna have Steven Jamerson
Yeah, I
starting.
expected Steven Jamerson to be the starting big.
Yeah, that's
He wasn't
rough.
necessarily bad in the over in the WCC, but yeah, I mean nothing
Yeah,
special by any means. He averaged 10 and 8 on okay efficiency is not great.
yeah. But I think outside those four guys and Clark, then Daly and Bilodeau is kind of rough, or else I would have them higher for that big
Yeah.
two. I really like Den and Bilodeau a lot.
And then to my two, where I have Michigan. I assume you have Michigan at your
Yep,
two.
same.
Torvik actually has Michigan as the number one team in the conference, which is interesting.
Mm,
Uh, I really like what they did. Obviously, the transfer portal was a big thing for them, but they also returned some of their top guys. But let's talk about the transfer portal real quick. Yaxel Lendeberg, you could argue he was the highest transfer pickup. You could argue that. I really like what Elliot Cadeau brings to the team. He was a great ball handler at UNC. Uh, Good assist numbers, sees the court really well. I think him and Yax will be fun. But yeah, they returned Roddy Gale and Namari Burnett. Super solid guys from last year's team. They have Merez Johnson Jr. coming in from Illinois. He played a lot of center minutes. He was solid. Averaged 7 and 7, which is pretty exciting. 6'10" frame, solid build. I like what he brings. And then they also have 7'3" a day Murray. I'm not sure whether he's gonna start. He's from UCLA last year. Uh, he was all right last year, but he's a big frame. This team is deep, front court and back court. I really like what they have, and yeah, I think Elliot Cadeau is going to be an awesome point guard. Expect Roddy Gale Jr. to score similarly to how he did last year. Uh, really solid efficiencies from within the arc. Scored about 10 points a game last year. So, and then it really just depends on how Yaxel Lendenberg performs as the expectations. He has, I mean, pretty high expectations on him, averaging 18 last year at UAB, but it was a nice 18. He passes the eye test. So excited to see what they got going.
for sure. Yax is gonna be one of those player of the year candidates. Really efficient, but like also really high volume scorer. So he'll be a fun player. Um, he's huge too. I don't know how he
Hmm.
stayed in the mid majors for as long as he did, honestly. But I th I mean it's kind of like a common theme for me, I guess. But like I really like the guys they're bringing back, like in the Monty Burnett, Roddy Gale, Will Shedder. Like I like when you bring those kind of like core role players back, and then bring in guys like Cadeau and like Lendeborg. That's just kind of like my type of thing. I like how they built that. I'm not totally sure how Cadeau will be. I'm probably not as high on him as you are, but I think he's definitely like he plays his role well. I like how he
Hmm.
plays. He's nice to watch, but he can be inconsistent and efficient, whatever. But
Hmm.
I like Morez Johnson a lot as well. Seen him a bit, I think, on the U19 teams for US. Um, I think he'll start over Mara. I know Mara's a guy people like. I didn't really care for him that much, but I mean, he's big. Morez is big. Lendeborg's big. Shedder's big.
Hmm.
They have a lot of size. maybe shooting could be an issue a little bit. I mean, Burnett and Gale could shoot. I know Winter's Grady. He's a four-starter bring in. Should be able to shoot a bit. Maybe it's kind of. I mean, it's kind of iffy last year. Kind of iffy this year.
Yeah, Gale wasn't a great shooter last year. Cadeau was pretty inefficient from three. He
Oh
didn't shoot a
yeah,
ton of threes, but
yeah.
yeah, I like what Burnett's gonna bring, and yeah, just pick. I like Trey McKinney. I like that freshman pickup.
Trey
Yeah,
McKinney could be really good. I could see him starting eventually, but
yeah,
kind of depends on how they play him, I guess. Um,
and that's
yeah.
think that's gonna bring us to my one. I assume your one,
Mm-hmm.
Purdue Boilermakers.
Yep.
Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman, Ryan, CJ Cox, Fletcher Loyer, Oscar Clough. I think they're led by, in my opinion, the best coach in college basketball. I love Matt Painter. I really like what he does. Braden Smith is the consensus player of the year. Was super, super good last year, averaged 16 and 9. Good efficiencies, sees the court really well. I shot threes pretty well last year. I like what he does. I don't like him as much as maybe some others do, but I think he's going to be a really good guard. The only not like bona fide great player, I guess, would be Oscar Clough. I've seen a little bit of inconsistency on what people think about him. He was solid last year. He was solid at WSU when he played there. Um, he was a little bit out of shape this summer. They got him back into shape for what Matt Painter wanted him to be. I think he'll be solid. I don't expect him to put up 18 and 13 like he did
Mm-hmm.
last year, but I think he'll be a good big. They also have Daniel Jacobson, who is huge. Obviously, he was the replacement for Zach Edey apparently, but we'll see how he finds his role in this team. It's kind of not sure. And then my favorite guy is Omer Meyer. There's been a lot of talk about him coming in from overseas. Assumptions are that he's going to be a one and done guy. I think he should have similar hype to that of a five star. I really like what he does. I don't know he's going to put up huge numbers. I don't expect anything crazy. I don't expect double digit scoring from him necessarily, but I think he's going to be a good role player. And I think the biggest storyline is just like this top five, top six players that they have, how good they are, how well they have played together. They bring back all of their top guys. So I really like or most of their top guys. So I really like what Purdue has going.
Yeah. Um, I really like Omer Meyer as well. He shot really well too for an international guy. He shot 8.5 threes a game at 38% in the four U19 games he played for Switzerland. So, I mean, last year I think shooting was like a pretty big issue for them. So adding another like good shooter alongside Fletcher Loyer and Braden Smith, I think that's really nice. I think that's a something that's like kind of gone under the radar a bit for the team. I think some people think that they're just the same team, but you're bringing back Smith and TKR, but they definitely improved a lot this offseason. Um, Liam Murphy also 42% shooter, 7.5 threes. They're bringing from mid majors. So I mean, it's just like you're obviously gonna mainly be by Braden Smith and TKR, but Clough, Lawyer, Meyer, like that's like you said, like that top six is very, very sound, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. I have a question for you, but Braden Smith expect to be player of the year. Do you have him as your player of the year? And we're going to talk about this in more in depth in some later episodes. But just for now, do you think he's going to be?
Yeah, he's my current guy. Just 'cause like I mean, he averaged 9 assists last year, and that was without Omer Meyer. I think he'll add
Hmm.
some. And there's also, I think there's gonna be less pressure on him, and Clough's gonna be a guy who can catch some lobs. The team's better, and he's obviously, I think he'll at least stay consistent.
All right, that wraps up the Big Ten for us, I believe. We're going to bring it over to the Ivy. We're going to go with my eight first. There's only eight
Okay,
teams in this conference. We just decided to go through them all. We'll get through it quick. My eight, I had Penn. Where'd you have Penn?
I had Penn as well.
Yeah. Rough for Penn. Rough looking one for Penn this year. I mean, there's some bright spots like Ethan Roberts. He was cool last year, averaged 17. They picked up TJ Power from Virginia. It's a rare power conference transfer down to the Ivy. The rest of the roster, it's pretty bleak. I don't expect big things out of Penn necessarily, but what do you think?
Man, it's yeah, it's probably a pretty rough year this year. I mean, Ethan Roberts, like you said, they brought back their lead scorer, but they only brought back he's the only guy they brought back who had meaningful minutes last year, and they
Hmm.
weren't good last year. So there's not a lot, I guess, of hope. I mean, it's Fran McCaffrey's first year. Maybe he'll pull something through eventually, but right now I don't think this team is very good at
Is
all.
Fran McCaffrey actually the coach of Penn?
Mm-hmm. It's his
I did
first
not
year.
see that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
I know.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, I think that's all I got on Penn. Good to move on
Yeah.
to my
I didn't
seven.
have
Yeah.
much on him either.
Yeah. That's where I have Dartmouth at my seven.
I had Dartmouth at my seven as well.
Brandon Mitchell Day is the guy they bring back. We're gonna see a theme with all these Ivy League is that they bring back a lot of their
Hmm.
talent from the last years. That's what I was seeing. Uh, the rest of the roster is not great, kind of similar to Penn. Connor Admonson was supposed to be a guy for them. I don't. He's supposed to be a good backcourt guy. I'm not sure. Was not very efficient. He shot better from three than he did from two, which I mean, he shot decently from three, so there's something. Scored 10.5 points last year. Not sure the kind of leap that he's going to take. They have decent size. I like that. It's important in the Ivy League, but they're going to have to rely on some freshmen. I don't know. I'm not huge on Dartmouth this year.
Yeah, they lost their lead scorer in Ryan Cornish from last year,
Hmm.
which I mean that's kind of like I mean he averaged 17 last year. Like that's a big loss. Mitchell Day will be solid, but there's not a lot. Just like overall, they didn't really improve that much. I don't think they definitely didn't improve, and then they lost their main guy. So I don't know. I mean, there's math for me.
Yeah, I do like from this conference like how much they return their players, and I know that's not
Hmm.
as much a choice as it is like they just got to return the guys that they
Yeah,
can. But
yeah.
it was nice looking at these rosters. And then to my six is where I put Columbia.
Okay.
Where'd you
Yeah,
have Columbia?
I had them at my five, but
At your five. Okay. Uh, I didn't expect to like this team. Didn't expect to like the roster. I actually kind of don't mind it.
yeah.
Decent size, like I said, similarly to Dartmouth. Ryan Sulis from Richmond, definitely a big guy. Leland Coleman is a guy. He played for New Orleans, so New Orleans is not a good basketball program, but hopefully he could be decent here. They got Kenny Noland. He's returning. He's decent for them last year, fairly efficient. It doesn't seem to be. This seems to be a pretty well-rounded roster. I think they'll actually be able to shoot fairly well. And like I said, I do like the size on this team. So, what do you think about Columbia?
They actually, I'm pretty sure out of, I know like the common thing is like bringing back minutes, but they brought back 70% of their minutes from last year. And five of their six lead scorers from last year as well. So I think like they weren't good last year. They were pretty sure last in their conference, but I do think there's some hope compared to like what we've been seeing with like Princeton lost Xavier Lee, Dartmouth
Hmm.
losing Cornish. Like a lot of these teams are losing their top guys, but Columbia really held it down. Um, and I mean like Kenny Nolan, Avery Brown, uh, Leland Coleman in his first year averaged 5 and 3. I think he'll start. Blair Thompson, and Dean Edine Birdie. They averaged 8 and 5 and 2 last year. They had a couple guys. I mean, their whole bench is like oh, Gerald O'Keefe averaged 7 and 2. Jason Mason Ritter averaged 4 and 2. Like there's some
Just a lot of
solid
decent role
decent.
players, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. And then the whole lineup, starting lineup, kind of keeps that same theme almost too. Just like a lot of
Hmm.
solid. Kenny Nolan's a 37% shooter. I mean, it just seems as pretty decent. I don't know. I mean, compared to like what Torvik and Kempom had them, I think they'll be better than that, at least.
Yeah, they Torvik had him at seven in the conference, so I just moved him up one. You moved him up two. And then to my five, where I put Brown.
I had Brown at my four.
At your four. Okay. So we'll have a little bit of shake up here.
Hmm.
Uh, Interesting roster. Landon Lewis returns. He was solid for them last year. He's been there all 4 years, similar to what we see from a lot of these guys. He's not quite as much of a shooter, doesn't stretch the floor quite at all, but he's got a good frame. This team lacks a little bit of height. They brought in a freshman and Charlie O'Sullivan, who's big, but besides that, it looks like it's gonna be Landon Lewis and Farah Dabo, I think is how you say it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
he, he didn't get a ton of run last year, but he'll play similar to what he did last year, some backup big minutes. Uh, but I do like some of the guys that they returned. Um, I think that the freshman talent's actually pretty solid. That's going to set
Hmm.
them up for the future. It's a pretty young roster. A lot of freshmen, a couple sophomores sprinkled in there. So David Rochester's another guy who I kind of noted kind of plays like a wing kind of
Hmm.
position from what I saw with a good frame. So I think this team will be decent, solid. I think Landon Lewis will take a bit of a jump from what he did last year. But what do you think about him?
Yeah, I really liked them last year. They were like one of my favorite teams in the Ivy last year. But they did lose Keenan Lilly. He was like one of their top scorers. I think he averaged like 17. He was really good. So that's a tough loss. But I mean, like Alex Lesbert, Landon Lewis, I think that's a pretty solid duo. And overall, I think they have a pretty decent defensive lineup. They're a little small, but I mean, I think all around they play pretty well. Landon Lewis averaged a block and a half and a steal. Um, I don't know. It's kind of hard to predict, but they're bringing back a couple guys from last year who, I mean, I like Malcolm Risby, Jefferson. I think he'll start. I think he could be pretty solid. Um, he said Pharma Dabo. I'm not sure if he'll like how good he'll be, but he'll start. And he averaged 4 and 4 last year, so he's undersized, but I think he could be okay. I just think it's all around decent team, and Landon Lewis and Lesbert are pretty good. So.
I'm gonna keep it real. I didn't watch a ton of Ivy League games last year. I think I've watched probably a couple Princeton and Yale games, but that's about it. So I'll definitely be more into it this year, but not quite as familiar with these rosters.
Mm.
So we're gonna get to my number four. It's where I have Princeton. Where'd you have Princeton?
Yeah, I had him at 6, so that's like
Okay.
where shakeup was.
Yeah. hmm you kind of noted earlier they lost their guy, Zamian Lee. He was great for them last year. This is a super young roster. I see like one senior that's really expected to get run. It's going to be Caden Pierce. I think he's going to be the only real contributor that's a senior. The rest of the team is super young. Not a ton of size. I really like CJ Happy actually.
Hmm.
Somebody he had a limited role in the front court, but showed some flashes of being able to stretch the floor. In a game last year against Portland, he put up 16 points, shot 2 for 4 from behind the arc. So I think he's gonna have a bigger role this year and really thrive. You know, it was his freshman year last year, so he's going into his sophomore year. And then overall, yeah, just kind of a decently well-rounded roster. Returned a lot from last year. Obviously, we talked about that. Jacob Huggins is another guy who's young in that
Hmm.
front court, going into his junior year. So excited to see him have a little bit more of a role. But what do you like about Princeton?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that they don't have a single senior this year. That's kind of rough. I mean, it would have been Xavier Lee. That's
Hmm
like that sucks. That's really what's holding this team back for me. But I do think they lost compared to most teams, um, quite a bit. And they lost, I think, every statistical leader from last year. Um, I'm not sure if Pierce. I'm not totally sure if Pierce is coming back. I didn't see him, but if he is,
I
he'd
thought
be nice.
Caden Pierce would be coming back.
I mean, it doesn't have him on the ESPN roster, but he might be
Gotcha.
on the other one. But the other guy I noted was Dalen Davis. He's okay. Small guard, 9-2-1. He's kind of like that second, I guess, to Xavier Lee last year. He's just okay. But I don't really see a whole lot with this team, so I didn't put him very high. I know they could be
Yeah,
okay, but
I guess that, and we'll have to do a little bit of post episode research whether Caden Pierce is coming back, but that would kind of explain the the 2 spot difference from us.
Mm.
But then into this top three, in this top three, I actually start liking these rosters, so it'll be a little bit better to talk about. At my three, I had Cornell.
Okay. See, I had Cornell at my two. My
At
two.
your two? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Cooper Nord was really efficient last year. It's one of the guys who I like the most. He shot 72% from inside the arc, 41% from three. Really efficient, averaged 13.5 points. So I like what he's going to be able to do. Uh, Jake Fegan is another guy who I really like. Um, they have uh, Casper Sepp is a guy who they transferred from Valpo. Once again, like the height on this team isn't overwhelming, but I feel like they have some decent Casper Sepp's a decently sized guy. He's going to be important in that front court. Um, I just like what they do. I think that his role is going to be something to watch. Whether he played some 4 minutes when he was a Valpo, I know that. So uh, similar to a lot of these teams in this conference, I'm interested in the front court, the depth. But I do really like Cooper Nord. I like Jake Fegan, so I'm excited for what they do.
Yeah, they definitely lack size a bit, but you could say that about most teams in the Ivy generally.
Right.
But I really like the shooting. I think that's a pretty big part of it. And then the overall scoring between Nord and Fegan. They lose AK and Azir from last year, which are like their top guys, I guess, last year. But I think Nord and Fegan will step up pretty well. They both shot. So Fegan averaged 11 and 3, shot 38% on 4.5 threes, and then Nord shot or averaged 13 and 3, 42% from three on 6.5 attempts. So I think there's definitely a lot of shooting there. Like Adam Hinton was a guy I noted might have some shooting upside.
Yeah, another good shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's some hope on the shooting. I know so Kempom had them as one of the worst defenses in the actually second worst defense in the Ivy. But I mean, I don't see size being a strength for almost any of these teams, so I don't think it'll be that bad of a thing for them, I guess.
Yep. And then to my two, where I put Harvard.
Yeah, I had them at my three.
Okay, so we just flip-flopped Harvard and
Yeah.
Cornell.
Hmm.
I mean, understandable. Robert Hinton is kind of the reason why I put them up here. I really like him. I really like what he does as a scorer. Averaged 14 and a half last year, 4 rebounds. Not a ton, not much blocks, which was kind of interesting. He didn't have a single block on the stat sheet, which was crazy for me. I'm not sure if that was like an input error, but 0 blocks over a season is kind of crazy.
Mm.
Anyways, that was just something fun I wanted to note.
Yes, that's random.
Uh, right? I know. That's what I was kind of interested in. I like the size of their guards a lot. I like the size of this team overall. Thomas Baddies, the second, is a guy who's stretch four for them. Played really well last year. Had a 31-point game against Columbia where he just absolutely went off. Went 4 for 6 from behind the arc. He scored 11 points per game last year. I'm excited what he does. But yeah, I think this is just an overall solid team. They returned some of their guys, especially Robert Hinton, who I think is going to have a big year.
Yeah, and it was his first year. He's a freshman last year. So,
Mhm.
I mean, 14, 4 and 2 as a freshman is legit. So, I'm excited for him as well this year. Um Chandler Pagee, he's a pretty good player to return. And then yeah, Tom Batty's also a guy I like. In particular, I did think that it's kind of cool that Luca Ace
Nasteki,
Nasteski,
Nastesky.
Steski. He's
Yeah,
he's 6'10", he's pretty big, and then redshirt freshman Keenan Parrish,
Keenan Parrish. Yep.
7 foot 260. So
Yeah.
they definitely have some of the size that other teams lack. I think that'll be helpful. They did bring back all three of their lead scorers from last year, which is always nice that they don't have to have anybody leave. Like I guess graduate. That's kind of like the biggest enemy of the Ivy, but um, I don't know. The shooting could be a little iffy, uh, but I mean, baddies will shoot. But Hinton, Piggy, baddies, that's still really solid. Not big three.
And then to my one, I assume you're one. I assume everybody's one. It should be Yale from the Ivy.
Yeah.
Nick Townsend is a guy who could be the conference player of the year. I really like what he does. He's probably the biggest name from the conference. He's going into his senior season here at Yale, played all 4 years here. Last year he averaged 16 and 7, 3.5 assists. So, I mean, really good all around player, good size, good shooter. Just a really solid player. And then the rest of the roster fills out pretty well. Samson Alaton is a good big for them. Was decently efficient, averaged 7 and 4 last year. I mean, like similar to all these teams, like we keep on saying, they're going to keep on bringing in returners. I like to see that. They have really solid size. Um, just good all around roster fills out well. Some freshman talent coming in, so I like what they have going on.
Yeah, I don't think you can get much better than Nick Townsend coming back compared to the rest of the conference.
Hmm
I'm assuming he's player of the year. I don't know if they even have one. But I mean, they lost Pulakatus, which is like, his best player last year in the Ivy. But Townsend's gonna be really nice. Casey Thompson's also, or Casey Simmons. He's
Simmons,
also,
yeah,
yeah, he's really nice to bring back as well. So I think that duo in particular is just like hard to go against. Isaac Saleskar and Samson Alton, also pretty nice to bring back. I mean, those four are probably the best four you could bring back compared to the rest of the conference. I think pretty clearly the best team.
yeah. I
Um,
think they're gonna kind of run away with this conference.
yeah. I think Casey Simmons, Nick Townsend's really good duo. So I don't
Yeah.
really nothing in particular. It's just like better overall than most of the teams.
hmm Yep, a good looking roster for the Ivy. And I think that's going to wrap us up here. As always, we're going to go into our hot takes for the episode. Brett, you want to lead us off?
Yeah. So I didn't really have like one team. I was thinking about Michigan State one, but I didn't really want to keep dogging on Michigan State. So I'm gonna slide over to another team I looked at in the Big Ten, and I actually do think that I really like. I think Washington could be a pretty sneaky good team. I think they would be a team if there were to be like one of those lower Big Ten teams to sneak into the tournament. I think Washington would be my pick. I mean, yeah. Let's see.
Zoom
Uh,
Diallo is one of my favorite
Zoom
sophomores
Diallo.
coming in. He coming back to Washington. He is
Yeah.
awesome to watch.
But like you get Desmond Cloud or Claude and the
Hmm
Wesley Yates. I mean, you're taking like USC's two best guys from last year, so that's easy.
Yep,
And then you also bring in a guy I really liked from Lipscomb and Jacob Ognosovich. He was a beast last year. He's like uber efficient, 20 and 8, 57% from the field, 40% from 3 on 3.5 attempts.
that's
So
awesome.
he's amazing, and he's like 6'10". Um, Lipscomb was awesome last year, and he was the leader for that team. He's a great player. Kwamari Peterson, also 20 point per game guy, 42% from three, 6.5 attempts at Eastern Tennessee State. So there's a lot of like production from mid majors coming in, bringing a lot of talent from just different places. But I really like bringing Claude and Yates. I think that's a great duo to like build your base off of, and then throw in Peterson, Agnosovich, who are like a lot of experience as lead scorers. Frank Kapnang, I think how you say it. He averaged 2 blocks last year. He's only been able to play 32 games in his last 3 seasons, but he's maybe some upside as a really good defender. And Latham Somerville, I liked last year at Rutgers. So there's uh, a lot of experience. There's quite a few seniors, some good shooters all around. So it's a interesting team.
And so your take is they're gonna,
I think they sneak into the tourney. If anybody
yeah.
like outside the top 10 we had can, I think it's
hmm
them.
Yep. I just got a one more team we're going to talk about from the Big Ten. Uh, another team that is expected to be good this year. Iowa. What do you think about
Mm.
Iowa?
Yeah, I was another team I looked at pre in depth. I had them at 11, so I had them just outside. But um, I don't know. It's kind of like a iffy. Obviously, Ben Sturts is like amazing. Brendan
Right.
Austin's great. And Full Garros is a guy a lot of people like. He's an interesting player at least. But the rest of the team is kind of iffy for me, so I didn't take
Yeah, I agree. Bennett Sturts just couldn't quite. I mean, he was awesome at Drake last year, but he played pretty much all of their
him.
minutes the
Hmm.
entire season. Like he was never off the court. Super efficient, super fun to watch, especially come tourney time. He became a fan
Hmm.
favorite. I think he's going to be good. Ben McCollum's a good coach, but yeah, I think the rest of the roster doesn't justify them making it over. But I do think like Big Ten. This is not my take, but the Big
Hmm.
Ten could sneaky have 11 teams in the tournament. Is that crazy to say?
I was thinking maybe even 12, honestly.
Yeah,
Iowa and
12 teams in the
Washington.
tournament.
I think they could all sneak in. But
But my hot take, just to bring us out of here, I kind of noted at it earlier. I don't think Braden Smith is going to be the player of the year, nor I don't even think he'll be Big Ten player of the year.
ooh, okay. What
Yeah.
are the so
Uh,
who's your Big Ten player? Who's your player of the year then? You
well,
think?
play. I think Donovan Dent's gonna
Okay,
be the better player. I
okay.
think Donovan Dent's the best guard in the conference. I mean, Braden Smith, I think is obviously a better pure point guard passing wise, but I really do think Donovan Dent's just gonna take over on the offensive end. UCLA is gonna get out in transition. Purdue obviously does that well too, but I don't see it from Braden Smith. The expectations are really high for him this year. The roster's really well rounded. A lot of hands, a lot of mouths to feed. So I think Donovan Dent's the better guard in the conference, and I think he's going to be Player of the Year over Braden Smith.
I really like that take. I think the statistics might end up just like everybody knows Braden Smith, everybody loves him, it's whatever. He's gonna have the counting stats, but I do think Donovan Dent has a good case for being a better player.
And I think that's a wrap. What do we got going next? What's the next conferences we're
We'll
on to, I
see.
believe?
It's
All right,
probably
so
Big 12,
we got the Big East and the
Big
Mountain
East, okay.
West.
Ooh, Mountain West.
More good teams. Yeah, Mountain West is gonna be fun
Yeah.
this year. I'm excited to talk about that. Um,
Oh,
Big East has 11 teams. We'll just talk about all 11 of them.
mm,
And then for the Mountain West, uh, they got 12. I mean, we'll just talk about all 12 of them. We'll just go
okay.
for it from there.
Cool. Sounds good.
So until then, that'll be next week. Have a good weekend. I think we're out of here.
Yeah.
Peace.
That's, yeah.